Well, good evening. I'm going to be setting up. I've got a bit of a cold. So excuse me. Um, yeah, the signal's real bad here. Sorry to say. And like I said already, well, I see there's a couple of folks here. I'm still trying to set up. And Kathy's not with me at this moment. She's visiting with some relatives. And I'd be visiting with them too if I wasn't feeling bad. I mean, a little bit of a cold. But I wanted to do a stream, so I took advantage of it and we set it up in the hotel. And the signal's not that strong. Let me know if you can't hear me. I don't know if I can make it much better. Hello, old school Dave. Uh, we did do a move, but for us, moving is every 3 weeks or less. So, yes, and we're about to move again, and we'll let you know where we end up and do the next live stream from. Loud and clear, cool. Thank you, old school Dave. Rise above, hello. Jeff Barnes, greetings to you as well. And Garner Earth Guy, hello. So, on the way traveling to a town in Indiana, we listened to a tape, and I was sitting there for that tape, and yet there's some things about it that I just didn't remember. And I wanted to mention those things because it was updated information for me, because the things that Doe said were talking about things that he and T had talked about and what they thought about certain things. And one of the biggest parts of that was listed on my screen there. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't send my notification to Facebook. So I'm just going to have to do that fast, because otherwise a few folks might not get the notification. So I think I can do this relatively fast. Okay, so that's Facebook. Gonna, excuse me. I think that's Twitter. There it is. I like to put a little notification in Twitter. Good. Got a bit of a cold. If you're just joining me, not that you care that much about that, of course, but apologize for my sniffling presentation. So, I think I can get rid of Twitter also because I just need to have all my bandwidth for the stream. For as long as it lasts. Okay, I got the chat. Finch, hello, greetings. Sorry, Kathy's not going to be in the stream because she's visiting some folks nearby, and we're in a hotel. And I miss her being around. It keeps me on track. I mean, helps me stay, remember things that we listen to in tapes. Kathy's my partner, and I love being with her. Working together. Everything that goes with life in the human kingdom, especially now, as things are heating up more and more in a number of different ways. And I think that's going to continue. And the signs that the next level gives us via the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. And the stars, to me, if you look up the Greek word, it has to do with lightning flashing through the sky, traveling from east to west, because that's the path of the ecliptic. And it's following the sun, so comets that are in that, invisible during that, especially when they're comets that you can see with your naked eye, like we just experienced a number of times recently. They used to call them great comets. Great comets. Yeah. And then when they started tracking them, because they were watching them get closer and closer, and have objects associated with them, they started given the naked eye comet. I'm not sure what they call them now, if there's a group name for that, but to me that's like when Jesus said that you would see the signs in the heavens as light traveling from east to west. And I can't help but think of a comet as demonstrating that, because it was actually, if you look at the root of the word, it's aster, a star, and it has to do with, part of the word has to do with something that's strewn across the heavens. Excuse me. So we just, anyway, so there's lots of things happening, of course. with the UFO subject, with the idea of um, space aliens among us being talked about more and more, because I think it's of interest to have more and more people on board for the people in the government, various governments, so that they can get help to build weapon systems and things that's the only way many humans think, is that everything is a threat. And of course, if you know, you're one of the souls that is influencing humans to build technologies that you know can exist and you want, like the space aliens do, then everything you say and do is going to be geared in that direction. And that will include all kinds of misinformation that is given to humans, and that humans, including me, I'm a human. I'm not saying I'm not a human, but I had an experience with individuals that were not human. And people can have experiences with, I'm not talking about spirits. That's a distortion. They're real, but they're not the aim. They're not the destination. And there are people that believe in that destination of being the spirit world, even if it's subconscious. And so whenever somebody talks about things in a way that challenges them, a lot of times there's knee-jerk reactions of wanting to strike back out at people that say certain things. And because I say things that Tien Do taught me and made available to people, have become available to people by their efforts. There's naturally a backlash of thought, and that takes effect in the discarnate world, the invisible world, as well as the way it's affecting everybody. I'm jumping around, but I believe we're all in it's it's a type of pressure cooker. You know what I mean? That's not the right word for it. But as I learned and remembered, from the meeting tape that Kathy and I listened to on the way here in the car, number 239, that students had to earn. They had to work. They had to not be hypocrites. That was part of the requirements, even though they would have battles. It was the battle of Armageddon. It was the battle for souls, and it's an inner battle. And that's the battle that's the real battle that's happening now as well for people, because just because the class left didn't mean that growth stops for all the souls and spirits that are still in existence on this planet and still have a chance to change. And the ones that don't have a chance to change anymore because they decided that way and they lost sight of the reality of the next level in different ways, even in terms of religion. We can lose sight of the reality of the next level by worshiping the religious ideas, and the religious paraphernalia, and the rituals, and they all have their they can have their fun at this point, but they're really like country clubs, and all the while, TNO's information is available. But because of the way they left was so traumatic, rightfully so to think that way, certainly was a serious action to take, and the position that I hold that they held and they posted on their website was position against suicide. I don't like to use that word, but I guess I just did. I forgot because maybe one day that'll be outlawed to use that word. And but we need, and it's being shown to me over and over again, for myself and for everybody else that I know and that I interface with, talking with people in chat rooms and things. There's a lot of things that are distractions, in my opinion, from reality, from what's really been happening on this planet and why. And people are seeking, but it's like, but we each have to get to a point to where we're faced with, well, I shouldn't say it that way because I certainly am not the all-knowing eye about this. But my sense about it is that I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but right in terms of accurate. But we're faced with the idea of death, and that becomes a big motivation to either decide to not care and see what happens, or to make the most of the life that we have and learn from the lessons that we all get, no matter how hard they are. And and learning from the lessons, as will be very evident in audio tape 239, requires extraordinary effort. But everybody is capable. Well, I shouldn't say everybody is capable, because that's not necessarily the case. If a human vehicle is damaged, and we might not know how to define that, sometimes we do, but we can't always, because I know things, so-called miracles can happen. Science comes up with things that help us. Like if we can't communicate, if we can't learn new things, if we, because of problems, or if our brain has been so either genetically or a combination of genetically and environmentally poisoned, not poisoned by somebody intentionally doing it, but, poisoned because of the choices that humans make to commodify everything. If they could commodify the air, they would. And maybe they're starting to do that in some ways. But, and that becomes, it gets removed from the value of those things to health. But then that stimulates the people that want to try to have the healthy bodies for as long as possible to look for ways to do that. And so that becomes an opening door. And the same thing with all different departments of life. Human sexuality has its different, uh, extremes that people can take it to, and somebody can be very promiscuous, but they're going to eventually get hit back by disease and things, and which are there to help people, not have fun, if that's what they want from it, but or connection or whatever, or to make babies or whatever it is, of course, but to learn to take control of the vehicle, and that's always a challenge, because we're being bombarded with signals and ideas and thoughts through the media, but also through the airwaves. And to stay human. They don't say it that way, but the thoughts are that they want, and I say they, I'm talking about the space aliens actually, but there's many humans they're actually pretty much mouthpieces for the agendas that came about, in part, or maybe even largely, because of the space alien question, the space alien phenomena, the space alien idea of that there were people from outer space that came here and landed and crashed and started relating with the government to some degree, and were trying to work together, but they had things to lose. They didn't want, like Doe said, competition. So they would promise humans certain things, but they wouldn't always fulfill those promises, because they didn't want humans to be able to develop the technologies that they had, and then be in competition with them for what? For, leaving the planet is what you see most thought about now. With, I like Elon Musk in a lot of ways. I think his quest to leave the planet, or not that he wants to personally leave, but to be able to send other people there, is I think it's a combination of the way that in the last couple hundred years, humans have become more aware of the heavens than they had for the recorded history before. Aware of more aspects of them, more details, more ways of how they physically operate. And at the same time, if you are going to compare how much humans know compared to how much there is to know, I think the percentages would be very low, probably in the fractions of a digit of a percent. But even a fraction of a percent to us in the middle of it, with the histories that we have, looks like a lot. It looks like humans can do a lot because we couldn't do a lot of these things before. Anyway, I didn't mean to get into all that, but I just, kind of go with the flow, and maybe I should go back to the chat room. I can hear Kathy telling me, I don't know, she's probably talking with her folks, her mom, and her daughter, and her grandmother. And so if you didn't join me earlier, I'm in a hotel, and she'll be here in a little while. I don't know how long, but because we're getting ready to travel southwest. That's the idea right now. So anyway, let me go to the chat room, because I know I'm probably putting people to sleep. Well, I don't know that. I mean, I'd have to be looking at your eyes, right? Okay, so Oh, there's quite a bit happening in the chat room, so this can guide me for the stream. Vegan Dolls, greetings from northern New Mexico. Northern New Mexico, that's right. I remember you telling me that before. We might be close to that area soon. We might go right through northern New Mexico. And we may stay there, we may visit for a little while in different places because we might end up in Phoenix by the end of the winter. We just don't know exactly. We're kind of going by one step at a time to see if we can afford to take another step, because we do have to pay for gas for our motorhome. Anyway, Vegan Doll says, I love Kathy too. She has such a calming spirit. Well, that's nice. She'll be glad to hear that. She might be tuning in here soon. I might actually knock on the door and come in to the hotel that we're at. Dennis Ostergren says, greetings from Sweden. Never caught you live before. And there's a first for everything. Yes, there is, right? And glad to have you joining in here. I can't promise you anything phenomenal unless you hear certain things about T&O that are phenomenal, and recognize them for some degree of that phenomenal nature. I know that's hard to believe. I know people, because they know the story from the media of how the group left, in 1997, that clouds somebody's, that becomes like a filter that, it's like you really can't think positive about things if you got in the back of your head that it led to them laying down their own vehicles' lives. And so the way to think about that, for the most part, is to think that they were coerced or brainwashed. And of course, they were not coerced, but they were at times prodded. We were prodded by T&O because they weren't playing games. This wasn't a club to them. This was a task, and it was literally an astronaut training class that required a certain amount of reaching qualifications. Now, they didn't tell us that you've got a range of here's these things that you all do, whether it's, you had to get rid of yourself. What's the hardest thing that you can do is get rid of yourself, because who are you going to trust to give away yourself to? I mean, people do it in degrees. When you sign up for the military, you're giving away yourself. You're not going to have choices about a lot of things. And so, and it can be very difficult choices to make. And a lot of lessons can be learned from that experience for people. And some of the lessons might be too hard for somebody to convert into a positive, because they don't want to. They don't, obviously I would probably be in the same place if let's say I killed somebody. How do you reckon that when you necessarily can't? I mean, you can if that person was attacking you, yes, okay. But even then, it seems like it would be a major lesson, I think, and but it doesn't mean that it's not possible, you know. But anyway, I'm going to move on from that direction. But M9 Mike 9 says, "Hi Sawyer, I was listening to Beyond Human in the car the last couple of nights." Oh, nice. I say nice because every time I listen to Doe, I'm enthralled with him. Um, I know what he's saying is so right on. Even the changes, even the things that he felt like were mistakes, I don't see as mistakes. Now they're going to say that's brainwashing. Well, it depends on whether somebody actually believes that they are exactly who they said they were. If they have some kind of a sense of that, then when you hear things that are rough to hear, or rough to think about, or rough to think in a positive way, you always have the choice. But I just happen to know there's a few things that I do know, and one of them is that I know that there is no greater choice to make at any given time toward reaching up to the highest source you can imagine and seeing what and ask for what you want. But also it's not just about what we want, because that's easy to do. Let's say you have a health condition, and now all of a sudden you're asking God for help to help you, and that's natural to do, I think. Why not, right? Because maybe what we think of as God can help us, and maybe just going to the doctor is a good thing to do, or maybe treating the symptoms, or even going into a highly nutritional packed diet as best we can in these days with depleted soil and everything, to try to stave off a disease and dis-ease problems that come from the air or from our environment and other parts of our environment, or because of the poor consuming habits and imbalance in having nutritional sources. And Doe talks about some of that in this tape 239 as well. But what'll stand out in this tape, I'm just going to read the notes. That it starts off, and it was recorded on May 21st, 1986. And these are the notes that I believe were given by the class members to the tapes, which I observed. I did that, actually. I don't know if I think I wrote on a tape once or twice, because I was not a primary on that task. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But it's back on track. Why we can't do a church or relate to the public at this time in the ways that he was thinking about it at that time. And that was there's a lot to talk about in terms of what Doe was going through in that. And he related it to Twee's leaving, that he was, there were a number of different reasons why he kept on going in the direction of relating with the public. Excuse me. And I don't really want to just give you one or two because I'd rather have you listen to the tape and learn about what he said. But it's not an easy tape to listen to because he is acknowledging that he feels like his task from that point on was to prod us to leave and not spend a long time here. Like he was looking at sorry. After T left, he was beginning to think that maybe we would all leave by one, losing our vehicles. And so he was even thinking about, well, we could have some land and we can grow corn and other things to have things to eat, and we can work on our lessons, and we can even have a burial plot over here on this land. And yeah, but then it became clear to him that he was responding to not having his older member T with him. That, I don't want to change anything. I don't want to do anything different than T gave us to do. And even though T stimulated a lot of things that he ended up doing, well, I just started to sneeze and stuff. I guess I'm starting to cleanse now. Whatever little bug I got. So, so Doe talks about how T didn't have to go through the pain of leaving her vehicle in the way that she did. They could have all left before that. And T knew that. And Doe would say things to her about, the task taking longer, and, because some of the students were young, seemed to be younger than others, younger of mind, younger of soul, younger of being able to put into motion the disciplines on their vehicles and that included, being able to, not just have an angry outburst or not have a desire, to be sensual with somebody else or to daydream about them or to think about something in the world that, is appealing to us. Even like think about, reorganizing the prison system. I remember Stan Modi or Glenn Erdy, I don't know which individual it was, had a tendency to like to, examine those things. But that wasn't part of the astronaut training program that we had signed up for. Even though we didn't call it that the whole time, it all made sense to me that that's what it was in its most real form. In other words, there were a number of positions that were available to take. On board spacecrafts, laboratory circumstances, different kinds of laboratories, taking care of the Earth and the geology of it, and the weather patterns, and everything. Even giving humans understanding of certain technologies, allowing humans to develop those technologies, because they wanted to prepare the human population to no longer think of the next level as a superstitious organization of, floating on clouds, playing harps, and being able to know all things and do all things. And relative to humans, they can know all things and do all things. But in order to have a program that was purely operating on free will, they made sure that they took advantage of the choices made by the Luciferian space alien fallen angel souls by allowing them to influence humans. And that's what was first demonstrated by having Doe in his next level body, the next level body that was grown for him during his membership in the next level, to do a task on the earth where the influence of those lower forces, those space alien souls, were present, and were going to try to capture him, capture his mind, the way that space aliens are attempting to do that all the time to humans. They want to capture our minds. And that's why the only path, in my opinion, to not having our minds captured, it's in degrees, okay? Nobody's, like totally, well, maybe somebody could be totally captured, okay? I guess there are. But for those that have a sense and a desire and are a seeker and they want to know the truth and at any cost, and they're looking under every rock, nook and cranny that they can find for true information, for real information, and where they don't have to be suspect that the government's doing it or some space aliens doing it. Of course, all that is going to be subject to suspect, of course, and but those that are actually wanting that truth, that reality, and to see the technicality of the next level, it can be like a subconscious desire with that. Let's see if I got a message that I need to attend to. The next level is going to help those individuals that are seeking, but then it's going to still be a challenge for them to take advantage of that help and put it into motion. And so it got to the point for the students that were nearing graduation. This was 1987 when this tape was made. Oh, it says 86, May. Oh, I got mixed up by that. This was May 86, May 21st and the 24th. It got to the point to where Doe didn't feel right, felt like it was wrong for him on the task that he knew that he had from T. Not because T told him, but because he recognized that this was his task to complete the mission of birthing souls into next level adult membership and other stages of membership. and that he had to actually prod us. He wasn't going to accept the things that we were doing that were not a next level way of doing it. And so, yes, the outside world would see that as the ultimate brainwashing, and they are correct. But what they don't see is that they didn't do the brainwashing. In other words, Tien Do didn't do the brainwashing on me. They didn't do the brainwashing on any of the students. We had to wash our own brain by not allowing the thoughts that we didn't recognize as being a next level thought into our heads, and keeping it out and treating it as a demon. That's why the second part of this tape 239 talks about exorcism. And the reason why he's using the term exorcism is because to just call them discarnates, like spirit, like ghosts, is kind of like ordinary. It's kind of like, it doesn't, you don't get any sense that you don't want them around unless they're, clearly doing something, influencing you to do some real harmful activities. But right, so because it does two things. When we hone in on making our eye single, that's the way Jesus talked about it. Your whole body full of light. That means you are becoming a member of the next level in that vehicle, because you have recognized your older member enough, and you, in the cases of the students that were there in 1987, had been with Tien Do for 10 or 12 years. And so they knew the program. They knew that it meant giving your all. But putting that into into the process was the challenge, because we didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that meant. I've been, interviewed many times for many documentaries, and frequently I'm asked, what did I feel when T died? And I would say, well, I didn't have an emotional reaction to it. Now, I think that was for a couple of reasons. One was we didn't form emotional relationships with anybody else. Even though I didn't know it, I had formed an emotional relationship with Tien Do, but I just didn't know I didn't know it was there until I would, find myself like having little moments of choking up when I would talk about them sometimes. But, from a like what just happened to, I don't know if some of you know that Kathy has had for many years a cat that was a Mancoon, and he was very talkative and very communicative. And Kathy had been with her for 13 years or something like that. I forgot the number exactly. But she started to go downhill, the cat, very quickly. And she has passed at this point. And there was a 2-week period that it was very difficult to watch her struggling, and knowing that, the things that we gave her antibiotics and things, and but the things that were happening to her were, it just seemed like it was time to let it happen. Because, I mean, first of all, if you take them to a vet, then you can expect even thousands of dollars worth of cost for that. We don't have insurance for that. And Kathy was very connected to Evie. And I didn't realize that I was connected to her as well, even though from appearances I hardly, touched her. I hardly let her smell my finger, and I hardly petted her, because I have some allergies to cats anyway. But that's not the only reason. I just, I mean, I like animals, but some people think that I might be a psychopath because I said that I didn't have feelings when T left, and I didn't really have strong emotional feelings when Doe left, and the crew members, my fellow classmates, left. I don't feel like they're dead. I don't think that they are. In fact, I know that they're not. And I don't really even care that I can't prove it, because if someone wants to learn it for themselves, then they're going to have to go after it. And the next level will, as we go after things, the next level helps us find the reality to how to think about things. But anyway, so this tape 239, humans could find lots of fault with, but they find fault with almost everything that Doe did. So that some individuals, when they look at Doe, they can't imagine that there was any goodness there, and it's just the exact opposite. I know to be true, that there was no greater goodness than in Doe and in T. And that's real goodness. It's not the kind of or fleeting or fashionable or, it's wanting everybody to have their free will, to even go against them. They want people to have the free will to go against them. But if they do go against them, they're not going to grow from that unless they somehow are given a test of some sort or given a stimulus of some sort to face them with a reality. Now, once somebody is outside the primary vehicle that the next level put a soul into, they can no longer change, because you need the vehicle to make the changes. And some of that tape also, they were getting down to the nitty gritty. In other words, if you didn't follow a procedure, then you would try very hard to, you would ask your partner that if you see me not following any procedures, let me know. If somebody didn't want to ask for that help, it's because they didn't want that help. They didn't want to have things about them that seemed lesser to be pointed out to them by somebody else. I think to some degree, to the degree that I had success in certain characteristics of members of the next level, one of them being accepting criticism and not treating it accepting it as somebody had the observation. So I think it's, I'm going to accept that observation as potentially true. And so I'm going to examine it and think about it and see if how I can think about it in a way to actually recognize whether there was truth in it or not. And if the shoe didn't fit, then not give it any more mind, but not try to make the shoe not fit. Like if I find myself reacting to somebody else criticizing me with a knee-jerk reaction of saying, oh, well, when you did this over there, it was terrible, and I didn't say anything to you about it, so, is it telling the person, on one side of your mouth you're saying, I want you to tell me the things I do that are not like a member of the next level, and then when that happens, not being able to put the right degree of restraint in place so that you don't have that knee-jerk reaction. Now, humans, we all learn that kind of, we can learn that lesson in life, of course. But what was different about the classroom was that it needed to be accelerated because Doe did not want to stay around. And humans would make that into sounding like, well, he didn't want to stay around because he was upset with T leaving and he was upset with his homosexuality and all this stuff that humans come up with, which is like a bunch of spaghetti and it doesn't even have any weight. It has no reality to it at all. But it's the lower forces way of getting humans to not use their minds or just go with what they know that their editors are expecting. They don't want to have, if they don't do a good job and treat it in a way that, the average person can handle and believe in, then they could lose their job, right? And so they might like to stand up for what they believe in, but they won't necessarily. And people do lose their jobs because they stand up for what they believe in. They're like whistleblowers and from different government organizations and things. And they're very brave for doing that, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm getting off the track. I'm trying to keep getting back to how strong Doe was talking about the degree to which the students needed to grow to no longer be responding in human ways. So there's not anybody else that's teaching that. There's no one else that could teach that. Sure, in little degrees, a lot of people have little pieces of that. The idea that you need to give all your love to God, all your strength, all your soul, all your mind to God. So these things have been talked about. But then when it's actually happening, because that's thought of as a body of information that is pretty much taken for granted as being part of a belief system. But aside from that, actually seeing why there were such strong requirements for students to desire to want to take on, to become somebody from the future, like someone in the chat room, not chat room, but the message boards of Facebook was saying about how he recognized from watching uh, but listening to some of the tapes that T went Back to the Future. You know, like, and that movie came out in 1985. He said, I didn't check him on that, but I believe it. And we went to that movie. We saw that movie, Back to the Future, and it was fun. And at the time, I don't think I really related it that much. I mean, sure, I saw the symbolism of that, and I knew that we were going to the future, but I just didn't have a lot of in-depth consciousness about things. I'm not saying I was void of that. You know, I'm not the judge of myself, but there's so much that I wasn't that tuned into. I was like a sponge. I was trying to absorb everything, but so many things went over my head that I wouldn't have known had I not been in this circumstance now by my own choices, and I wouldn't have known it either. Well, I would have known it to some degree before I met Kathy. Because I was listening to tapes, but I wasn't listening to them on a regular basis. I was listening to them only to see if I could find answers to certain questions and things. And some of them I would listen to entirely, but it wasn't like, that Kathy wants to listen to every tape from start to finish, and even many times each. And it's great for that to be happening, because I know the influences with me, the discordance with me, I don't know if any of the Luciferian, space alien, fallen angel souls paying attention to me at all, and I like it that way if that's the case. But they don't want me to listen to those tapes. They don't want anybody to listen to those tapes. They will do anything to even block people from hearing the things on those tapes. And then, of course, the tapes also contain challenges, because we are seeing the same exact program, astronaut training program, being put into effect in the human kingdom as we speak. And how are we going to respond? That's the question. And the next level wants individuals to look to them. Ask them for help. Ask them how they can change, what they can do now in their current lives. And trust the next level that they're not going to be told to go get rid of their vehicle. I mean, it's such a, because they don't tell you what to do unless you say to them, I want to know everything that you would have me do. And I felt that way. I still feel that way. Even though I know in my mind there's certain things I don't want to do. But I'm willing to do everything, whatever it takes, from my lesson steps. And hopefully, but so we're in a different place. But that doesn't mean that anybody is held back from growing as fast as they want to grow. But you're not going to get the same kind of growth from anything other than really digging into Tiando's information and trying to take it to heart as much as you choose to. And I'm not starting a group. I'm not trying to say that I'm the teacher. I'm not trying to prod anybody, but that it was the subject of this. It's a gentle. The next level does a gentle prodding, but then it gets to a place to where they know they've got to prod a little harder to help us get past what for many is probably lethargy, some degree of lethargy. But we can be snapped out of that. And like, I remember Kathy told me that, for years she had been admitted some degree of an alcoholic, okay? And I think drinking every day, and she wanted to conquer it several times in her life. And finally she asked the next level, after having learned about Tien Do and believing in what Do was saying in the Beyond Human tapes, and even though that's always a continuous process of, what we believe and what we are adjusting to or willing to change about. And anyway, when she asked that question, all of a sudden she heard about how you label the influences. I think of them as like a demon or a person that's there and trying to get you to drink. And that worked for her. And that worked for me too in different things that I was trying to get rid of while I was in the classroom and afterwards. And I'm not doing a very good job tonight. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm feeling not feeling very well. But I'll go to the chat room. Hopefully I've said something of value. And see, that might be an influence as well. And Do talked about how his influences would weigh on him and make him feel like he didn't know how to help the students and he didn't know how to find the words. And excuse me. And sometimes it's because, well, for me, sometimes it's because I'm too tired. And that's tonight. I think when Kathy gets here, I'm probably going to close down the stream. So I better get back to the chat room. So, there's high standards. That's what I keep on trying to get to. The next level has very, very high standards, but they also know ahead of time what each individual can handle. At the same time, they know that the way that you learn to handle the difficulties that come our way is by asking them for the strength to do it. And this idea that we need to be able to do everything ourselves is another distraction from what's possible. I'm not saying that there won't be some spirit or some person or in a human vehicle or a government or to help you with problems, but those are part of that's natural to want to nothing wrong with going through the availability of who can help us with a psychiatrist or a social worker or trying to get help with food or to get past being depressed and get your head above water so that you can start to see things as possible and as obtainable. So Finch says, did you see that Trump said he would release all UFO info if he is elected on day one? Yeah, well, it's nice of him to say that. You know, but I don't think he's going to have that control. I don't think it's, Carter wanted to do that too. And I think Reagan wanted some of that information as well. And uh, I know Bush was asked, G.W. Bush was asked a number of times, and Cheney as well, about the UFO information. And he indicated that, yes, he would, you know, release some things. He would see that some things were released, more information, and they did. They would release something here and there, and it would still be like shrouded in mystery and, like they've been doing. But I'm not saying that he won't try. But there's parts of this government that presidents just don't get told about, because the people in the military, they're in the military for their lives. Even if they're retired, they have their top secret clearances and stuff like that. And so they don't, with politicians, or even people like Trump, who became a politician, when he was essentially a businessman before that, they want to say the things that they believe. I think Trump does intend to do things like that. I know he's got plenty of faults, but I think that's a positive. I would like to hear. I'd like to see more come out, because the time for secrecy, to me, about that has passed, even though the truth is really there already. But it takes a certain amount of being willing to not know what this is or that is exactly. But, well, to be honest with you, Tia Do provided the thoughts that know that there are physical vehicles on different planets, human equivalents on different planets, and there are potentially many gardens, or maybe not gardens like the Earth is, but many habitats where humans are developing in different degrees, in different ways, in the school of the human kingdom at the next level has created, has designed, has built. It's kind of design that keeps on growing. And it's got limitations built into it. But it's not all. So, Mike 9, what is your place now the class is over? There is no representative on Earth now, so are you marooned on Earth at this point? Not necessarily. Nobody is, I'm not, I don't know. I don't have a place. I don't, I know what you mean by that. I'm not taking offense at that. But I don't have a status. I don't have like a rank. Or I'm not held to not succeeding. I mean, held down in any way, or marooned on Earth. There will be some probably that are marooned on Earth, but that's going to be in the spirit form, discarnate form, or in But the souls that came with the next level, next step, I think unless they turned against the next level, and maybe not even then, uh, uh, they'll have a chance to T and O would be at least a plus in that regard. We would see what the program looks like. And then even though it would take a different shape and form, it might be in a different part of the earth, and if the earth is recycled before that happens, then, it might not look like anything it looks like now. And who knows how civilization can be developed. But I think it would probably end up proceeding to develop technologies like happened on Earth and starting in earnest in the 1900s. In time for the graduation experience after previous, like equivalent Moses materials in the Bible, and in the Jesus materials in the New Testament. But I'll say something that Doe said in a tape 239, which may seem a little unrelated, but in context, the way he brought it up was where it was quoted that Jesus said that God is spirit. And Doe said that he didn't think Jesus said that, or if he did, that there was some other context to it that wasn't recorded. Because God is a physical being, is a member of the kingdom of God, or a member of the evolutionary level above human, the physical, many-membered evolutionary level above human, who circulate in the distant heavens, have physical bodies, even though they have physical bodies that they can, some of them, or maybe all of them, can regulate the vibration of to a degree that humans wouldn't be able to see them. They would appear to be invisible. Anyway, so I don't know what, well, I guess I would say that my place is a similar kind of place that everybody potentially has. And you can read about that in pretty straightforward terms in Junodi's document, 018 from Deep Space Surfaces Before Departure, which is posted on the, and it's also, it's in the book. You can download the book for free from that website still. That website, I don't have any relationship to that website. And it's not for sale. You shouldn't have to buy any of T and O's material, their teachings. Wow, you all are talking up a storm. So I'm going to probably skip over some of those things because I'm starting to get a little tired, or maybe I just need to take a little break, have some water. And Finch says, he said he believes there have been UFOs off of the San Diego coast, and the UFO moved 50,000 feet in the air to 5 feet in the air in 1 second. Yeah, I believe that. And it goes along with, there's been, I'm expecting more and more sightings that are going to be showing us different things. I mean, because it's happening already. It's been happening for a while, but it seems to happen in spurts or waves, or I guess the way that Doe said it was shifts. Because he talked about that we might, after he was gone, that we might end up seeing thousands of spacecrafts coming in from different parts of the heavens. And in that context, the word heaven meant like the near space, or the deep space would be the deep heavens. Where the next level can only go. In other words, the space aliens are limited to, I don't know how they limit the space aliens to certain areas around the Earth. But the first heaven would be the spirit world, and some people think that that's where they're going when they die, and they do. They go to the spirit world, but we don't know. I'm not going to get into where they go in that spirit world. A lot of times they just hang around those that they were attached to in the human kingdom. So I expect to see more and more things like that being reported. If you go to my Facebook page, Sawyer Heaven's Gate, I did put in a post there about some sighting of objects in the Indiana area. I just went through that area with Kathy today. I mean, I didn't necessarily feel anything, but there was certainly something strange going on. So Dennis Ostergren says, open question, how do we best use the teachings in the here and now in our own lifetimes if there's another 2,000 year wait until next time? I think that's, well, I think reading everything that they left behind and thinking about it and how to apply it in your circumstance, and even the part of it, that information, body of information that says that that same classroom doesn't exist anymore. But that doesn't mean that there's not a current program to be a part of. But we're going to have to learn that, well, I don't mean to put it that way, but the more and more we study their information, the more and more we can even gain through like an osmosis their mind, their ideas, their understandings about things, their ways of describing certain things, their behaviors. That's the biggest part. You know, so that we all can practice this in our lives, of course. But there's certain things that they were practicing that it'd be pretty hard to practice in the human kingdom. like, well, I mean, there is ways of practicing it all. Uh, but so I would suggest you get familiar with the major and the lesser offenses and the 17 steps, because those all give direct examples of behaviors that are not common to a member of the next level. And so you examine whether, when you're impatient with somebody and intolerant and judgmental, if you are, I'm not saying you are, but if anybody is, or about themselves, they're judging themselves, they feel like, they've been terrible or they've done nothing useful or whatever it is, they've been put down and they believe it. I mean, there's all kinds of, or we can be so full of ourselves that we think we've got the best perspective or we've got the key to happiness. And when, the next level does want us to be happy, but they know that they want us to be happy learning what it is to be a member of the next level. There's a certain amount of happiness with that. There's a certain amount of happiness that comes when we conquer an addiction. Something that was tearing us down or holding us down or keeping us anesthetized, to reality, understandably, as the pressure cooker gets hotter and hotter, but at the same time, knowing that you ultimately would be seeking to reach for the standards that T and O gave us. And just, having that mindset and asking them about it, talking to them about choices that you're about to make, the more somebody generates a bond with the highest source they can imagine in the universe, the more they will probably come to recognize that T and O were the representatives of that highest source. But, that's going to be a hard thing to understand, to take in all at once. And so, I would suggest just approaching it the way you feel led to, what, but you're not, well, I shouldn't say what you're not going to do because I don't know, the different ways that the next level can help people. I'm not sure that was a very good answer. I'm sorry, though. Right, but there is no real, it's not like we're waiting. There's no wait. I know some have said that, and it's inappropriate. And this tape that we just listened to shows how inappropriate it is. Because, Doe said on it that that the class didn't have to, T didn't have to lose her vehicle. The class could have left entirely before that, had the class developed as quickly as the next level hoped they could. It's just a way of a member of the next level to not assume something is going to take 2,000 years, or 1,000 years, or 100 years, or 10 years, or 5 years, and then they're going to get the prize. It's like, with the next level, you can't just say, okay, well, next level, if I complete the 4-year classroom, then will I have made it? Well, it depends on whether you do the work or not. You know, we can give you the tools, but you got to do the work. You got to stop those thoughts in your head that are suggesting that, you know, somebody is doing something, believing in something that's dangerous to believe in or something like that. I mean, unless they're believing in somebody making a bomb or something, yeah, you can believe that that's dangerous for sure. But the way things are these days, if you question certain things that the government doesn't want you to question, if they don't want you to be distracted from what they want you to do, uh, you could, you know, lose your job. You could lose your livelihood. You know, you could be a whistleblower. You could, you know, different. You could be ostracized by your community. I mean, if you tell certain people that you're going to vote for this person or that person, in some environments there might be somebody that might be hostile towards you, and they can justify it in their minds being hostile, thinking that if that person got their way and was voted that person into office, that you know it was going to be the end of the world of some type. And you know what I say to that, because I know those kind of things are being said about different individuals. But if I believe that, then uh, well, what I was going to say was that well, that's going to happen anyway. At this point, it doesn't really matter. Well, I don't say it doesn't matter because the next level, you know, they also adjust their plans according to what human choices are being made. But there's a point to where the timing is finished. The next level gets to a point to where they know and they get the instructions from their older member, who's it might be T, actually saying, okay, we've made the choices available long enough, and now we're going to recycle and we're going to salvage the souls that are still demonstrating growth, and everything else will be recycled, or we'll salvage the souls that are even, you know, we're demonstrating some growth, but maybe went against Tiendo, and and who knows what else, you know, is possible for the next level to salvage. But they don't have any problem generating the beginning of the development of human vehicles. They know how to do that very, very well. So there'll be nothing lost. Well, the next level, they take advantage of everything that's growing, everything that's good. They seek to help it become more good, and it's by the choices of each individual that they actually are judging themselves to be to show that they haven't reached a certain spot yet. And like a gardener in a you know in a farm, if a certain seed isn't producing, well then they're going to look for a different seed in order to start their new crop. And who knows what the next level has in their storage units that may be actual planets where humans are growing or human equivalents are growing. Because human is kind of unique to this civilization. But I'm not going to try to get into describing that any better. Then Mike 9 says, it's important to remember Heaven's Gate is just the name of the website. The group were called Total Overcomers Anonymous Monastery. The media never made that clear. Well, yes, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I, but the name of the website, the term Heaven's Gate is a synopsis. You know, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father but through me. That's what that's saying. That Do is the gate. T and Do together are the same gate because they work for the same team. But Do being the representative who completed the task of bringing students to their graduation, that was Do's task, and Do completed that task. Now, I'm not the judge of, well, any aspect of that task completion, actually. But originally we were called Human Individual Metamorphosis. But we didn't actually, that wasn't used very often, if it was used at all, in the public meetings in 1995. I think there were some places where that would have been mentioned. Well, it was mentioned in the statement that T and Do wrote in 1975 that became the basis of what students at that time received, and it talked about human individual metamorphosis. But yeah, Total Overcomers Anonymous, that became a name in the 80s, I think, after T left, I believe. So it would have been 85 or 6 or 7 or 8. Not sure when the name was first used. And put on some, documents that were written, or 88 update. I don't know if we used that. Oh, Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. Yeah. I had to do that to get the signal to work on 3 bars.
Really?
I know it's not the greatest thing, but
Well, I can see you.
I know.
Everybody can see you.
I know. But I figure, what the heck. They can look at the
It's not
screen
like
if they
you're
want.
doing anything crazy.
You're right, I'm not doing anything crazy. Well, maybe they would think it's crazy. I'm trying to get to the end of the chat room.
Oh, how's it been going?
There's a lot of people talking in the chat, so. But I've been kind of,
Doing your thing.
yeah, blowing my nose like crazy.
Oh, did you tell everybody you was sick?
Huh?
You're sick.
Yeah,
Sick in the head.
sick in the head, I am. Well, if having T and Do's mind in my head is sick, then I want to be sick.
Now, who said that? I didn't say it.
No, but it's sick in the way that sick is a good thing, right?
Does somebody want to donate to our hotel fund and give us another night to stay in this hotel?
Really?
No, but that would be nice. So we could relax. I feel like I haven't relaxed at all.
Yeah, I hear you. We have to go tomorrow, so we can do that. If they'll give us the same price, it'd be nice.
Well, I mean, we can't afford it, so.
Finch says T was beautiful in her earthly vehicle. Well, yes, I'm glad that you can see that. There was a
Oh, you told them. Yes, thank Dave and XF. I deleted that live stream by accident. But I'm kind of glad that I did because I wasn't planning on talking about coloring. Is supposed to be happy, so thank you guys. I appreciate that. My poor kitty. Maya's cat is cute. My daughter got a kitten named Milo.
Yeah, I told him about Evie passing, but I didn't actually get to the point that I was trying to make about Evie's passing and how.
It really taught me.
I did
lot
say
about
that.
T's passing.
About what?
About T's passing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we have access to that balcony.
Oh, really?
I think. I don't know. Did you make yourself some coffee? Yeah, you did. Good.
No, I didn't.
But the coffee maker's not here.
I know, 'cause I used it to put the thing on here, so it would be not on the floor.
Leave it to you. To
It
be
got a better,
unconventional.
it got a better signal.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I don't know if it still has it or not.
I can see you.
Good evening, XF. I see you there. I'm sorry I'm so slow right now to get to everything in the chat. But Dennis says, second question, in the same vein would be, what is the future of our souls once our time comes if we're not experienced what the class did? That's up to each individual in their own relationship with the highest source that they can imagine existing, and but they're going to decide.
Well, that's funny because that tape that we listened to today talked about that. The two types of souls or discarnate spirits. The two types.
Yeah,
That one may be just so rotten that it couldn't be saved.
right. Yeah, I already talked about that a little bit. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I mean, is that?
Well, I don't know if it's the same exact thing there.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Bottom line is, I'm too tired to actually put much effort into anything right now,
Well, being sick doesn't.
and there's a lot of talking in here.
Looks like excess.
So I guess I'm not doing a very good job, Dennis. But I think we all make our own choices, I guess, and that's what, there's no one's guaranteed anything. I'm not, maybe, what?
You skipped the part of the M9 Mike 9 person that says it's important to remember Heaven's Gate is just the name of the website. That is not true.
I know, I did talk about that.
To say the group were total Overcomers Anonymous Monastery, the media never made that clear. Like, that's not
I tried to,
entirely true.
I tried to
didn't know
address
if you
that.
had addressed that or not.
Yeah, I did, I tried to. Right. Well, I guess the future of the souls. Well, T and Doe said in the book that well, yeah, if you read what Janoti wrote, the document name is Away Team from Deep Space Services Before Departure. She lays out the qualifications to be saved for a future opportunity and the qualifications to even graduate into more significant service. And that's all has to do with the people in bodies right now. So I'm not going to do it justice by just saying a little bit about it. That book, that document, Away Team from Deep Space Services Before Departure, is available in the Heaven's Gate book on the Heaven's Gate website. So I suggest you read that, and there's other things that talk about it too. I'm just a little too exhausted to do it justice, and it's probably better that way anyway, because you'll get it directly from the horse. Because Junodi was performing a task for Doe to say what she said. In her words. So Finch says, I was rewatching the HBO special and greatly enjoyed your part in it. So I understand parts of it they did not get correct. The call from Doe to T's former vehicle's daughter always gets me. Yeah. Yep. Yes, that's a very strong part of when that was the first time I heard it on that broadcast, that tape. T was beautiful in earthly vehicle, says Finch. And Old School Dave says, bless you. Rest in peace. Thank you, Old School Dave. XF says, condolences to Kathy's loss of Evie. And RVWTRVPS says, do you have any memorabilia from Doe, like maybe a signature on a book or something? I have a robe that he gave me that he wore. That's all I have, I think. Phil says, I do not profess to believe much of anything, but I will say, no matter your or your friend's beliefs, it would seem there was a degree of genuineness that far exceeds that of most. I think that's fair to say. At least you all were all in and didn't attempt to fleece the masses for personal gain. True. Which is what happens at most churches all across the world. Yeah, that's true. Oh, no matter you or your friend's beliefs. He was correcting something. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. There wasn't any personal gain being gained by anybody. And there was no sexual belief or, there wasn't any well, all the things that were human were what needed to be overcome. Because they were advancing to be above human. It's really that simple. It doesn't mean that they don't have life anymore. They do. They have more life now because it's not temporary anymore. That's one of the reasons. Influences are very real, Sawyer. Yes, they are. I agree with you, Madre. Discarnates are very real. I've seen them myself. I know when they're yelling in my ear sometimes. Other times I get tricked by them to listen to their thoughts. for periods of time before I recognize that it's some discarnate soul that's over there, and
I was just talking about that too.
yeah, and that's talked about in the audio tape 239 as well.
It's funny how much just one tape he covers.
Yeah, except talking to Phil. Okay, good. I see you're having a good conversation about things.
I'm talking about pastors or something.
Madre says, "You are doing really well. We hope you feel better soon." Thank you. Me too. I'm glad XF and Phil are having some communications, but I'm not going to get into each of those things. Yeah, there's. I see what you're talking about there, XF and Phil. Yeah, there's a lot of people thinking that they're doing the will of God and things like that. Who
Dang, it's already molded.
whether they are or not, I don't want to be the judge of, but we can only point to their actions in relationship to others and the things that I'm not able to do justice right now. Sorry. Year the most. Okay, XF is saying that 2024 is the year of the most UFO sightings. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. No, I don't think what we see in the sky has anything to do with necessarily believing in T and O. If they want a human to see, if T and O want and their crew want a human to see them streak by or something, uh, they'll show that to that person. But they might not show it to somebody. It doesn't mean that the person that sees something is ahead in some way. It's just something that they might have needed to help them. And of course, the space aliens can do things like that too. And they may have an interest in doing some of that as well, to wow humans into, thinking about them as, and not seeing the difference between them and T and O's crew. Thanks, Bill. I am trying to stimulate thinking and conversation about these things. And hi, Dave Coleman. And old school Dave, DC. And MM Brunel says hello. And XF. And Sawyer, I really like you, he said, jailer. Well, I hope I'm never in jail. No, okay. Again, I've been in jail a couple times for a little bit of time. But it's jailer, actually. How are you doing? T and O are very interesting humans. Yes, I would insist that there weren't any more interesting humans that lived. I mean, of course, if you're into physics, you're going to think Einstein, right? And Bohm and other, very interesting humans. So I'm not saying there aren't other interesting humans, but in an overview, I don't think you can have anybody more interesting than somebody that is part of the creator's team that developed the human kingdom. But that looks good, what you're eating.
Piece of bread and peanut butter.
Yeah.
I have sunflower.
How's it going with the bongos? Well, I didn't bring any, so I didn't play any. There you go. That's the extent of my bongos tonight. There seems to be a major delay. Yeah, I know that's a problem. All right, folks, I gotta go to bed, or I'm gonna eat something and then go to bed probably.